Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today we will be presenting our group project titled Comparing Harmony OS with Android Features, Challenges and Opportunities. Before we presenting our group project, let me introduce myself and follow with other team members. My name is Mama Idil bin Hussein. I am a group leader for this group project.
My name is Sahril bin Sanif.
My name is Mira Hadira binti Muhammad Hadafi.
My name is Nariman Soleha binti Asnaskawi. Firstly, for the introduction, operating system or OS is an essential intermediary between applications and a computer hardware, and it is also classified into different types of operating system based on their functionality and their characteristic. For our two main operating system that we will be discussing today, which is Android and Harmony. So for Android, which was launched in 2008 by Google, was built on Linux kernel and it was designed specifically for smartphone. Android also has like a deep Google service integration, which allows it to operate smoothly. For example, Chrome browsing history, it will automatically sync the browsing history between devices. Android also has like an open source nature that allows other people to develop and distribute their own modified version of the operating system through something called Android Open Source Project or AOSP. This also allow a wider adoption across devices from different manufacturers. Next is HarmonyOS. HarmonyOS was launched in 2019 by Huawei, and it is a microkernel-based distributed operating system that allows users to control various IoT devices. This specific reason is what sets it apart from Android, since Android need users to uh, download different apps for different smart devices. HarmonyOS allow users to control different type of devices manufactured by Huawei in one interface. For example, user can adjust lighting or control home appliances from just one swipe from their HarmonyOS integrated smartphone. HarmonyOS also was not initially built for smartphone, but instead focus more on the IoT devices. So the objective for our report is to analyze the differences between Android and HarmonyOS by comparing them, their ecosystem, their connectivity, and the environment to determine which operating system offer more advantages.
Next, I'm going to continue explain about the differences between HarmonyOS and Android. First, I'm going to compare the developer between these two operating systems. For HarmonyOS, the developer is Huawei Technologies Company, while for Android is Google LLC. For the kernel type, HarmonyOS is using microkernel, while Android is using monolithic Linux kernel. For the architecture, both of the operating system is using a layered architecture, but HarmonyOS is using kernel layer, system service layer, framework layer, and application layer. While for Android, they are using application framework, Android runtime, and native libraries and Linux kernel. For the distributed architecture, HarmonyOS is a distributed architecture where it can be used by many devices, but Android can only be used by one devices, it is not distributed architecture and it is a centralized. For device compatibility, HarmonyOS can be used by phone, tablet, TV, smartwatch, smart appliance, and car system, while Android can also be used by the same devices as HarmonyOS, but it uses separate variants. The performance comparison between HarmonyOS and Android. For HarmonyOS, it has optimized performance. It has a smooth performance, even though it is a low-end devices. But for Android, the performance depends on the hardware. If the hardware is a low-end devices, then the performance might be slower than the high-end devices. For the security, HarmonyOS is using Starsheet for security across devices. For the Android is using a layered security model. The comparison between the user experience is HarmonyOS is more seamless and interconnected experience across different devices. For example, it can be connected and shared between the device, like phone with tablet or with a TV. While Android is a customizable experience with variations across manufacturer, where it has more custom option, but the look or the experience depends on the brand itself. While the market adoption between HarmonyOS and Android in 2025, HarmonyOS has rapid growth in China with 8 to 9%, while Android still dominant globally with 70 to 72% worldwide.
Next, for the device connection in HarmonyOS and Android, there are six categories that we can look for it. And the first one is connection management. In HarmonyOS, they use a distributed softbus for seamless multi-device connection, while Android they manage each device connection separately without a unified system. For the second one is task execution. In HarmonyOS, there has a distributed scheduler that allows app to run across multiple devices. Meanwhile, for the Android, there is no native support for running apps across devices. And then the third one is data sharing. In HarmonyOS, they offers a real-time shared data access across devices. Meanwhile, for the Android, they use a manual or cloud-based file transfers. Next, for the number four is super device features. In HarmonyOS, they use a group multiple devices into one visual system. But for the Android, there is no built-in features for treating devices as a single system. For the number five is distributed app execution. In HarmonyOS, they can split app function across devices. For example, control of phone or processing on a tablet. But for the Android, they requires custom development for the multi-device functionality. And then the last one is distributed data services DDS. In HarmonyOS, they provides a built-in DDS for syncing and managing data across devices. Meanwhile, for the Android, they relies on external or cloud services for syncing.
Now, the question is, between Android and HarmonyOS, which operating system is better for developer? To determine which operating system is better for a developer, there are a few criteria that should be considered between both operating systems, which are development tools and environment, multi-device development, performance, and lastly, user market reach. Begin with comparing both operating system development tools and environment. For Android, it uses Android Studio, while HarmonyOS, it uses DevEco Studio. Both operating systems have similarity and differences. For the similarity, both DevEco Studio and Android Studio has emulator. For the differences, DevEco Studio support distributed multi-device app development, while Android Studio does not support that multi-device app development. Now, we move to the comparisons of multi-device development between Android and Harmony OS. For Android, the development is a platform-specific development, while Harmony OS allow the developer to code once and deploy everywhere, which means the developer for Harmony OS just have to code a single code base, and the code base can be deployed to different kind of devices. While for Android, um, developer need to code specifically for that particular devices. So um, different device require different code base. In terms of performance, Android performance is hardware dependent, while Harmony OS is inter-device performance. For Android, hardware dependence means there is a difference between high-end Android device performance with budget Android device performance. This is because both high-end and budget devices have different hardware resource. High-end Android devices has advanced hardware resources, while budget Android devices has limited hardware resources. This could lead to problems like lag and bad performance for Android devices, especially for the developer during development. But for Harmony OS, it is inter-device performance. This means there is no problems for developer to use various types of devices during the development process. Lastly, developers should also consider the market reach for all operating systems. This is to make sure that they could develop things on demand by following the global trend. According to the research teams of Counterpoint, the global share of Android continued to decline gradually and reached the lowest March quarter value since 2018, while Harmony OS reached 5% global share and 19% in China. To conclude, we found that Harmony OS is the better choice of operating systems for developers nowadays because it allows development across multiple devices only with a single code base, which ease the developer works in deploying the systems or applications across various types of devices. Plus, Harmony OS also comes with inter-device performance. These excel in the scenario that involve collaborations between multiple devices, especially during the development process. Although the global market share for this operating system is not on the top, but the rising trend toward ubiquitous computing, where technology is seamlessly integrated into everyday life, indicates a strong futures for these operating systems. This era demands greater personalizations and unified control over all devices owned by individuals, and Harmony OS found to be capable of meeting that demand.
That's all for our presentation. Thank you.